you. We've a bunch of paper flowers to decorate to Mammy's hero.
I believe this should be the #1 priority for women, because it's sexuality that captures the mind of man. More than anything else, a sexy woman persuades a man that being irrational is a desirable mode of existence. Now, by dressing sexually, I don't necessarily mean miniskirts and see-through blouses. Indeed, I'd encourage women not to overplay their hand in this regard, as it tends to repulse the truth-seeking man. Only someone with his mind totally destroyed could possibly be attracted to such crudeness, and obviously it would be useless attracting such a man in the first place. Subtlety is the key here. Instead of sexuality, think femininity. Just a touch of makeup or a pair of earrings is enough to convince everyone that you have no desire to be treated rationally. Indeed, the whole gamut of frilly dresses, silky hair, artificially reddened lips, and glittering jewellery announces your intentions loud and clear. The woman wearing them says to the world, "I am a freak and a clown. Please don't expect anything more of me." Men will oblige by taking you out to dinner. I firmly believe that the well-groomed woman is the most ethical of all God's creatures, for she's dedicated her life to the seduction of man, or in plainer words, to the destruction of reason. I reckon the poets and musicians should do nothing else but sing her praises, for she's like an angel watching over the welfare of humanity. It's very important to develop a personality that is irresistible to men. The golden rule is this: it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you do it prettily. Prettiness is the most powerful force in the universe. The pretty woman slays thousands of men with just one glance. Even the truth-seeker stops in his tracks when catching sight of a pretty woman. And I'm not necessarily referring to physical attractiveness here, although it does help to be beautiful. Rather, the real trick to being pretty lies in developing a childlike persona. A woman should strive to be bubbly, cute, innocent, spontaneous, joyful, and above all, harmless. In so doing, she can deceive men into thinking that she is pure and virtuous, and generally closer to God. This is definitely something to keep in mind, especially when trying to attract the eye of the truth-seeker. Of course, this may appear to be a devious and unethical way of doing things, but I wouldn't be concerned. The end justifies the means. The sooner men are married off, the better, as I'm sure you'd all agree. This follows on from #2. A man tends to find a particular woman attractive if she appears to hold the same values as him. He sees in her a part of himself, more often the nobler part. And if she happens to be pretty, well, there's little to stop him falling completely in love. The best way to foster this attractiveness is to discard whatever values you currently happen to be entertaining and simply mould yourself around the men that you meet and fancy. Learn to become like a mirror and reflect back what the man values. In this way, he'll recognize a soulmate and be yours forever. Now, I should warn you that this might not always work in the case of a truth-seeker. He's often awake to this ruse, so it's best to bolster it with a bit of simulation. Take an active interest in philosophy, for example. Give him a rational critique of society. Delve into psychology with him. Praise the concept of the individual. You need not keep this pretense up for long. As soon as the man has fallen for you and agreed to become your husband or boyfriend, you can give it all away and become your normal girlish self again. For once caught, a man rarely escapes. This also follows from #2. The real reason that it's important for women to appear purer than men is so that he can be blamed for everything that happens. More importantly, it strengthens the belief in people's mind that women lie at the center of all things and constitute the reason why the universe came into being in the first place. The key to purity is passivity. In other words, do nothing. Just remain motionless like a snake. Not only does this safeguard your feminine purity, but it also forces men into having to do everything, and so be blamed for everything. The skillful woman is the woman who can make a man feel guilty for simply existing. I urge you to pay careful consideration to these words. The secret of all your feminine power lies within them. Woman, the passive judge, is the great invisible force that underpins the whole of society and keeps it from running off the rails. She's the ballast which checks any possible urge to greatness. Men do many things in this world, but there is one thing they try to avoid. That is, incurring the wrath of women upon themselves. Always tell your man how fantastic he is. Compliment him on his enormous intelligence and his overflowing artistic genius. Let him know how physically attractive he is and that he's easily the best lover you've ever had in your whole life. Describe to him how sensitive and sweet you find him, and how he always makes you laugh. In short, tell him what a good man he is. With enough persistence on your part, he may start to believe it all himself, and so forget the terrible hunger which once drove him to seek reality. All men are deeply affected by their childhood attachment to their mothers, and most of them carry the scars of this relationship for life. This gives women a rich seam to exploit. By taking the role of mother, you can establish a firm grip on the man's subconscious, hence the importance of washing his socks. Always ensure that the man you love is totally under your thumb. Sure, let him have some minor freedoms. Let him go off and have a beer with his mates. Let him choose the type of motor mower he wants. Let him tuck the kids into bed at night. But make sure that in all essential matters you are in full control of his life. A woman's duty to her species lies in capturing a man and turning him into a husband. The more conscious the man, the more significant her duty. Thus, to assume the appearance of a philosopher is the highest act a female can perform. If femininity did not exist, there'd be little to stand in the way of the thinking process. Sooner or later, men would discover the importance of truth, which would be disastrous. It would mean the end of the world as we currently know it. It's therefore important that women retain their femininity while pursuing the freedoms they so richly deserve. Ideally, a woman should devote her energies towards establishing total dominance over men, and as the evidence of history suggests, this should not be a difficult task. She need only be womanly on the inside, while aping manliness on the outside. So, by all means, run a business, become a politician, win in the Olympics, do great science, become a feminist, and whatever else you feel is necessary. But in doing so, always make sure that your innermost center remains soft and feminine, and pleasing to men.